Yo, what up, YouTube, tube. Welcome back to Turn Bark Time. I'm the Turn,
I'm the Bark.
and we have been here a long time because this is season 7, episode 8. Ooh, episode 8.
Cruel and unusual punishment.
Yep. So, just had to throw that out there. The YouTube tube thing is something that students do all the time. Definitely will be showing them a clip of that tomorrow to make me look hip and cool. Not just hip, but and cool. So, uh, Bark, what's been going on, buddy? Anything fun and exciting?
We're getting a puppy.
Yes.
What kind of
Yes.
puppy or which puppy, we're not quite sure yet, but we're going to get a puppy.
Oh, that puppy will make definitely an appearance on Turn Back Time, especially when it's known, because I feel like photographs will make their way forward, which will be
Yes.
super exciting.
Students have, I put a poll out of who they think we should buy, what puppy we think we should get. And they were like, well, you got to bring it in now. So the puppy should come home Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, perfect. Right before school's over. Easy.
So we shall see.
Oh,
We shall see.
love it. Love it. I have track meet tomorrow. First track meet of the season. Kids are super excited. 57 kids competing of our 80, like 2 kids that are out for track, which is awesome. Uh, Big meet, be tiring, but totally worth it. So, but yeah, just another exciting day at Turnback Time. So, diving into today's topic actually comes from my brother. So he is a huge fan of listening to podcasts and just listening to different people talk about everything. So this comes from the Joe Rogan podcast. There was a gentleman that was on there, and he was talking about the 17th Amendment to the Constitution. His name is Bill Thompson. He was a former U.S. Army intelligence officer, and now he runs a company that specializes in using AI to track different like hunting and like outdoor kind of stats. I didn't listen to the whole episode. I just listened to his clip that my brother had asked about. But in there, he argues that the 17th Amendment to the United States Constitution actually was a surrender of people's liberties. Now, when we went through this, my brother pointed out, he was like, "Hey, like we probably learned it, but it's not one that comes up in conversation." And Bark, I would think that like we both taught this, you've taught it in high school too, whereas 17th is more, I guess, like in play. We both taught like 8th grade, like Constitution, and we cover it, um, but we don't really like. It's not really a I don't know. I guess it never appeared to be a big deal or never like deeply discussed because it's just something we do and we've done since 1913.
It's one of those ones that just kind of like it makes like a kind of a administrative change, I guess would be the way to think about it, right?
Yeah.
But since it is the system that we have grown up in, we don't question it. And I guess it's something that we probably don't think about. And I think your big quandary when you brought this up was what did we do prior to the 17th Amendment? So 17th Amendment deals with how we elect state senator or senators to send to the federal government. And as you should know, every state gets 2 senators, and they are voted on by the popular vote of the entire state, and they both represent the entire state that they serve.
Now, prior to that, when the Constitution was written, senators for the United States Senate were elected by that state's legislature. So it was the responsibility of the legislature to elect the representation in the Senate. Um, it's not until the amendment passes in 1913. Am I right on that? That's the date I have.
1913, I think, is when it's
All
ratified.
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
ratified in 1913.
Okay. So ratified 1913, where it switches to a popular vote, the system we know today. And my big question was also like, why did we make that switch? Right? Like what drove that? Going back to looking at different bunch of different sources and some different videos, a lot of it stems from what I thought was really interesting was the state legislatures did have a difficult time electing senators. It was one where, like, I believe there's a stat that says in the time where state senators are, or sorry, senators are elected by the state legislatures, that 30% of Senate elections ended in like a deadlock. And it was because the way it was written, they had to have a majority vote, not a plurality.
Correct. Um, yeah, and I mean it's a matter of like, should it be direct democracy or indirect democracy? The United States, we have, I think we kind of pride ourselves on moving towards this idea of direct democracy, despite the fact that we use the Electoral College, which is
A different episode.
a different episode, which I mean, it kind of makes it indirect democracy, but we're the only ones that do it that way.
By the way,
But
did you see Virginia?
yeah, they think that the Supreme Court's gonna
No,
side
no,
with,
no, no, no. Sorry, sorry,
oh,
sorry. Different story, different story. Did you see that they joined um the National Compact vote?
oh, I did not see that.
So I think at the moment they are 20 electoral votes short
Oh, really?
of having it be the National Interstate Compact going into effect. For those of you who don't know who didn't watch our episode, that's basically where um, to try and change the Electoral College the way we elect the President of the United States. And again, I'm sorry for going off topic. The nature of the show. But basically, there are a bunch of states that have gotten together and said, hey, whatever the national popular vote is, we will cast our electoral votes for that. Now, this doesn't go into effect until they reach the magic number of 270, because obviously it doesn't matter up until that point where they would elect the president. But we are within 20 electoral votes of just having the popular vote decide the presidency of the United States. It's not what this video is about. You can go watch our other one on Electoral College. That's back in probably like season 2 or 3 near the pretty beginning, right? Does that sound?
Yeah, it was pretty early.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so anyways, like there's kind of this conversation where a lot of other countries use indirect democracy to like elect like prime ministers and such. And the feeling initially was that the Senate is to serve as the upper house. And I believe the phrase that people used when they talked about it was they were the better men of
Hmm.
of the colonies, like the House of Lords is in Britain.
Yeah.
So that's why they wanted I guess the way to think about it, top men are going to pick another top man
Yep.
to go serve for the Senate. And you could, if you wanted to take a pessimistic view of it, it's a way to insulate the government from mob rule, from just like the average populace trying to pick somebody who might not understand the nuances of what needs to happen at the governmental level.
Well, but it also, you have to remember and I give a little bit of credit, I guess, like for it, as much as it seems very undemocratic. The average education is not very far along, right? In 1789 when this gets ratified. And so it's reasonable to think that people who would have more money, have more prestige, would get to be in those positions longer because they can leave their job for longer and they tend to be more educated. But again, you would have the mentality of like, this is basically saying this is the rich people's house. They get to be in that one and control it while the house is more for the common person.
Yeah. And I think when I looked at it, people said that the concern, and I think there was actually somebody who, when the Constitution was written, said that they advocated for why don't we just do it popular vote from the beginning? I
Hmm.
think it got voted down 10-1.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's been an idea since 1826. Henry
okay.
Storrs proposes it the first time, but it isn't going to gain traction until like 75, almost 100 years later.
Yep.
But one of the concerns outside of deadlock was corruption. From 1857 to 1900, there was three different senatorial investigations of whether elections were done properly. And in 1900, there's a lot of great names that sound like famous people, but they're not that guy. They just have the same
Mhm.
name as that guy. So
Yeah.
William
Yeah.
Clark of Montana was accused of buying votes in the state
Oh,
legislature. So essentially bribing people to give
yep.
him
Yep.
votes so he could get in. And then, like you said, the other problem was deadlock.
Yeah. Well, and so one of the things I thought was really interesting was because when my brother and I had this conversation, he goes, "Well, why would we ever turn this over to the popular vote? Because if we turn it over to the popular vote, that makes that person, that senator has more control, right? They have to answer to so many people that like when they make a decision, there's not enough people around to like force their hand." Whereas like they have to answer to a state. And I was like, and I did hear that on like the stuff that I was watching, and I was like, no, that makes sense. Um, and when you went to elect them, like when you went to go elect your state legislature, that was something they started putting on the ticket. Like in their pamphlet, they would say, I will follow what the people want, or I'm going to retain my right as a legislator to make my own decision about who's going to be in the Senate. And I was like, that's really interesting to think that like, because it's just kind of bold, right? And they talk about this time period when we get the call for the 17th Amendment that people are like there's a lot of political movements where people are using their political power, right? Like you have the women's rights movements making a big push. They obviously haven't been successful yet, right? But they're driving forward. You have other groups that are advocating for themselves, and so it's like, oh, here's a piece of political power.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because they say from 1891 to 1905, they have 46 different deadlocks across 20 different states.
Wow.
Like some of them in the 1850s, Indiana has a senatorial seat vacant for 2 years.
Who?
And then Delaware has one ride for four. And then in 1897, they said that 1/3 of the Oregon House of Representatives refused to be sworn in so that because there was a deadlock and they were unhappy with the deadlock. And you had to
Oh,
be elected by a quorum.
right.
And so if they didn't swear in, there would not be a quorum,
And
which
so
also
they,
meant that for the legal year of 1897, Oregon couldn't pass legislation.
that's wild. By the way, just doing some digging. Electoral College was season one,
Okay.
so 6 years ago. Um, yeah, and so it's interesting, because now what's happening, or at least what going down the rabbit hole of this, right? So we get a push. I think William Randolph Hearst is a big one. Like he's a big advocate for it, is he not? For the
Yes,
17th. Yeah. So
he
he
puts
pushed it
articles
out.
in the Cosmopolitan.
Yeah. He pushes it out. And it comes through uh basically this again, the same idea is that these people are like people want more power in their government or they want more say in their government, right? Like we're at that point now where we're pushing forward. Um, and this passes in what is it? It's 30. I said 13. Well, we looked it up last week too. There's only one state who votes no,
I think it's
right?
you.
Or is it four? Or is it four states? I was trying to remember. It's one.
There's a handful that don't take any action.
That's right. Okay.
I
Utah
think
vote.
Utah votes no and rejects. And then
Yeah.
there's some states that, if you look at it, some states that accept it like in the 2000s. There has a ratification date that is past the year 2000.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, like give me a minute. I can get there in a minute. But while this is going, like there are in the early 1900s, there are 10 states that have some sort of popular vote that they use, but it's an advisory vote, which means an advisory vote means that the people you're asking for the opinion of the people, but the opinion of the people doesn't make the decision. It's just simply letting the legislature know what is popular with the people
The
inside the
people.
state.
Okay.
So yeah, like Alabama, this is from Wikipedia,
Mhm.
Alabama ratifies in 2002.
Yeah.
Delaware in 2010, Maryland in 2012, and Rhode Island in 2014.
But now, and again, that it in and of itself is not important because it reaches the 36 vote threshold that was needed for the time to pass. So, because I think the only what there's at that point 1913. What are we missing? We're missing Hawaii, Alaska. Is Arizona there yet? Because aren't they? Isn't somebody 48 or 47?
Arizona votes yes, so they're in.
Arizona votes yes, so they're already a state.
Question, and the other one would be, is it New
Nope.
Mexico?
New Mexico. They're blue on the map. Yeah, they're blue. They're original ratifier.
Okay.
So
So it must have been out of 48.
must have been out of 48 because yeah, because Alaska and Hawaii don't exist yet.
All
So
right, they're not
they
state.
exist. Sorry, they don't exist as state. They don't have statehood yet.
Precision of language.
Yes, I would get hit with the wand.
Hmm. Um, yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to like look at this and kind of go like William Jennings Bryant was also an advocate. So for those of you, right, who know about the populist movement, he's the cowardly lion from The Wizard of Oz. But uh, but again, that would make sense if you're running a populist movement where you're trying to say more power to the people. Why would you not give them
More power.
direct democracy to elect their senators? It's just really interesting because I think more people today would be in favor. I don't know, maybe not.
No, see, and well, so here's my thing, right? Like, it's interesting because that's what my brother said. My brother was very much like, like his gut reaction was like, it makes more sense to have them accountable to the state, and then it doesn't matter. Like, nobody can really lobby them, right? Like, you're still gonna have action inside the state house that would have to be looked at and things like that. But like, and you're gonna have gridlock, right? And that was the thing they noticed. Like even like you read off how many gridlocks there were, and they were gridlocks where it was still the same political party had the power in both chambers and still couldn't figure it out. And so what do you like in theory of like buying your senator? Oh, that was the thing they said. Sorry, that's the part that I'm skipping. Is there was more of a rotation through this? They used like Daniel Webster as an example, right? So Daniel Webster is a senator, and then he goes off to be Secretary of State and then comes back because basically, Webster, Kentucky, no, no, Devil and Daniel Webster, New Hampshire. Sorry. Uh, but they like hold his seat for him basically, right? So he's like, they talk about how like you could leave and then come back because like you were still the popular guy to run the show in there, but you still have to answer to the state house, which is interesting because could you like in theory then, because impeachment involves like you can impeach members of Congress, can't you? So could your state house call you back in that aspect? If you were elected for 6 years, could your state house recall you? Like if they had a recall election, they're like, we don't like what you're doing, you're not representing the state.
Yeah, I would think so. It, any way you slice it, it still comes down to the same argument where whatever the minority voting population in your state is going to make the complaint that they're still getting. I mean, there's no way around it. Like you can try, and I don't think anybody runs a state government where they give, or the state legislature where they try and give each county,
I
well,
don't think so.
the same number. Well, maybe they do. Do they give everybody the same number of senators in the district, or
Well, so Washington is what? It's 42 districts?
42? I think
No, not
county.
42. No, it's more than that. It's like because there's only one senator per, so it's like 48, I want to say. It's something like that.
So, I mean, that is the idea that you're trying to keep that same structure so that it provides equal representation per
Yeah.
district so that it doesn't matter. But I think the districts are made by the same number of people.
Right.
So King County is still, I mean, that's the big argument in Washington is that King County is always going to outvote the rest of the state.
Correct.
Um, but
But
it's,
but wouldn't in theory then like I mean King County's still gonna vote the rest of the state, but in theory, wouldn't it would put like I think our breakdown is still pretty like our there we have a Democratic majority in both, right? But but I think like it's the number would be a little bit higher, don't you think? Like or closer than the Republican number would be closer. Like yeah, so we have yeah, we have 49 senators and 98 representatives. And so the Senate is 30 Democrat to 19 Republican, right? Which is like closer than like it looks like when we vote, right? Like for president. And then the makeup of the House is 59 to 39. So it's still in theory it'd still go Democrat, but um yeah, I guess so we wouldn't really would have gridlock unless a Democratic like there was a split in the Democratic group.
yeah.
Because they both hold majority. So if everyone voted toe in line,
But I think this time period, because there's a lot more fragmentation within political parties, and it, in a way, it mirrors more of like a British system at that point, where you actually have to co-op parties together to
yeah.
actually get votes between fragmented groups, where everything right now is so bipartisan that
Right.
I don't know if it really makes that much difference.
That's fair. So, but yeah, just like so what do you think? Go with your gut. What would you rather see?
I like the idea of direct democracy because then it's less likely that they're picking somebody from the like it's somebody who's running and has to at least talk and appeal to the average person, not somebody who just goes and lobbies themselves to the legislature.
Fair. I would say
Just
that too. I don't I think I think we'd run we might run aground on more trouble. And I feel like, you know, if somebody votes, like if you live, like you said, like the complaint would be from like a Republican in our state, right? Because they don't feel like they get the representation. But would I guess like, but then it does feel like it's like we talked about with the electoral college, right? Like you don't feel like you vote, but you don't feel like your vote actually goes anywhere, right? And here like when I vote my vote actually goes. I see like the tabulations, you know, when Murray or Cantwell, who are two current Washington senators, just in case you didn't know, um that I see my vote in their count, right? And it matters for something. And that's what I argued with my brother as I not argued. That's what when I said like gave my opinion of my brother, I was like, this is what I would do, and this is why I think like I would stick with the 17th Amendment at this point.
and you could argue that you more people could potentially find a candidate that they is a better fit to what their beliefs are because
Right.
we have a wider variety of people who primary and then are winnowed down into like who gets on the final ballot
Yeah.
rather than just having people in the legislature do it.
Right. And you get to see it, right? And like you said, and then those people who win the primary also need to figure out a way to appeal to the people who were, you know, voting for their opponent. And how do you draw that crowd? How do you unify that crowd towards that? So,
I thought it was interesting because like the in 1866 Congress tries to like have everybody do it the same way because there were some concerns about a guy named John Stockton, not that John Stockton,
not that John Stockton.
not Gonzaga legend John Stockton.
Stockton.
Um, he got elected by plurality instead of a majority.
Oh,
I think he eventually gets removed for I looked him up and he got removed for a different reason. Like he was doing some things that were improper. And then like there was another court case that came up about him and he got removed. But it's one of those things where I don't know. And this is it's probably biased that we're from the 20th and 21st century where
Correct. I think that matters a
we're
great
used to
deal.
direct democracy. This idea of indirect democracy doesn't seem very palatable to us because we want to have our say, we want our opinion. I mean, gosh darn, we vote for who's on American Idol.
Yeah.
We phone in.
Yep.
Interesting to see if the voter turnout in American Idol is higher than actual like political voting.
But how would you calculate that one? Because you'd have
I
to
guess
calculate.
because kids can vote there too, I guess.
Yeah. But I mean, all you're looking for is the percentage. So I guess you'd have to say what's the viewership of American Idol versus the number of people that cast their vote.
Yeah. I mean, I crunched the numbers for Washington and like it's roughly 60% Democrat and 40% Republican in both houses. So no matter how you try and slice it,
It should still be, it would
the
be the what we
majorities
have.
come out the same because if they, I don't know. Well, because I mean, the districts, I think inside of, I'm trying to remember how it works. No, never mind. Because like, yeah, like it's just, you have two people that run inside those districts and it's, if they both go, I think my district right now, I think is all red.
Mhm.
I think all three of our two representatives and our state senator are all Republicans right now,
Right.
even though we're kind of a purple area.
Hmm.
That's I think it was largely on social and economic policy is why they won. But I mean, we're kind of a toss up. Even Clark County is becoming a toss up.
Yeah.
Um, we'll have to see who runs against Glusenkamp Perez.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's really kind of interesting to think about. Like it's one of those ones that we've always done it the way we've done it in our lifetime, and so we've never thought about it being any way different. But
Hmm.
I just like the idea that you have to put yourself out in front of more people, and
Yeah.
it's I think you would have more claims of like elitism and I mean, like they're gonna
Well,
pick somebody that they know who's at that level.
but it's also like you said, like you have to impress. Okay, so take our legislature, for example, it's 98 and 49. So let's see if I can math 147 people, if I math that correctly. Yeah, 147 people, I think. 9 plus 4 is 13. 9 plus 7 is, or 9 plus 8 is 17. So 13 plus 1 is 4. Yeah, 147. I can do math. Okay. So that you're only trying to impress 147 people and not even that, right? Like if you have a political belief that's different than the other political party, then it's only the people who have the majority. So in this case, we're talking 59 and 30. So we're talking you have to impress 89 people versus going out and Washington has 7.5 million people, right? Trying to get those votes versus trying to get the Democratic nomination of 89 votes. So,
I guess the counterpoint would be is that those people in the legislature are going to represent a wider variety of people, rather than if you just go straight numbers. If I just campaign in King County, I don't have to care about other places. I can just
yeah.
what I mean? So maybe I mean I guess that's the argument, the counter argument to it. Um, but when they tried to say that like the way that they wanted states to do it in 1866 was each chamber votes independently, and then if they can't come to a decision, they vote together in a joint session. But how does that work for Nebraska, who's unicameral?
They just always vote in the
You know what I mean? Like they're
they
already
just
at
have to
that
vote.
step.
Yeah, they have to vote in unicameral anyway.
So
So,
unicameral for all of you deep dive fans who haven't been around since season one means that they have one chamber. So there is not a House and a Senate. There is just a chamber.
yep.
So
Which is weird still because isn't the it goes back and that's a different topic for a different day, but doesn't like isn't the whole point of becoming a state like you're supposed to model your constitution after the US Constitution? Like isn't that a requirement?
to quote Pirates of the Caribbean, it's less like rules,
Guidelines.
more like guidelines, I guess.
Yep. I love that.
Um, it's like the fake Constitution convention that we used to host in class. Like the best year I ever had was when the kids threw the you were supposed to get them to make a bicameral legislature was the idea of the lesson, but then the kids started proposing like tricameral, and they're like, why do we have to choose and get rid of one of the options? Why can't we just use all of the
All
options?
three. Yep.
And then they started like making up, well, what if we did it by this? And then they added a quadracameral
Yeah.
option, which is just great. Like, because they started to understand like the process of like how laws would be proposed and made. But I digress. Yeah, the 17th Amendment, I think it's one of those ones that gets overlooked because we just changed the way that we did it. And it's one of those things like, just like saying that explaining to students that George Washington wasn't elected by popular, like nobody voted, the average
No.
person didn't vote for George Washington.
No.
Only electors did.
Yeah. Yeah. And he wasn't even the first president.
Season one, episode one.
Yeah.
So
Oh, such a good one. Okay. So I don't really have anything else on this one. It's an interesting topic. We don't get to talk about that often, so we don't deep dive. Bark, do you have one for next week? Because I had an idea. Um, just something we haven't done this season yet.
I don't have
Um,
anything burning a hole in my pocket. No,
okay, because I'm thinking like the other thing we could do is just let people ask us questions, right? And then just read through and just do a couple of like just different questions, either about ourselves, about history, anything like that. You okay with that?
I'm down.
Okay, we're gonna throw it out there on our Instagram. Feel free to comment on our YouTube. Feel free to t text us directly if you have our numbers. Uh, if you want to know anything about us. So we're just hoping that you'll check it out and see if you guys want to know anything. You can ask us history questions. You can ask us about ourselves. You can ask us our opinion on different things. Um, I was going to ask Barker who the number one pick in the NFL draft is, but we all know it's going to be Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana. So, Barker, what I'm going to ask you this, just so we can get this for next time. I'm going to ask you two draft questions, okay? And see, we're going to write down your responses and then we'll check in next week. Okay, so Barker, for the NFL draft just tomorrow, okay? So the when this airs, there will be Uh, how many trades in the first round will there be? The over under is going to be 3.5 just in
Over.
the first round. Over. Okay. And then your second question is, will the Seahawks make a first round selection?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to throw a name of who they'll pick?
No.
Okay. Fantastic. All right, folks. Other than that, we ended a little bit early today. I hope you guys have a great week. Good luck to the Quincy track team. By the time this airs, it'll be getting ready for race time. So, and that's about it. All right. Well, that's it for us. Have a good night, everybody.
Be safe.
And he remembered, be well.